2021 was an absolutely insane season for F1 driving, and if you're not a fan of the sport before the epic conclusion, I'm sure you are now. At the very least, the race between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton was the race heard all around the world and did wonders for the sport in terms of viewership. But due to last-minute controversy, the craziness is still not over. In today's video, we're going to be going over all the drama and why one single event may change the course of F1 history forever. Stick around, because you're not going to want to miss a second of this video. Leaders tied for just the second time in F1 history. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton have been the faces of F1 driving for the past 2 seasons, and this season, the rivalry between these two only got more intense. Hamilton and Verstappen were all tied up going into the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi, each having 369.5 points. The only other time this happened in the entire history of the sport was back in 1974, when racers Emerson Fittipaldi and Clay Regazzoni were all knotted up at 52 points each, with Fittipaldi taking the win and earning a final season score of 55 total points. Obviously, less points were awarded back then, which makes it even more insane that Verstappen and Hamilton tied each other going into the final race with such an exact tie. Who could have imagined the season ending like this? Both of their sports best earning the same points all the way down to the decimal point. It is an ending that could not have been written any more dramatically, and it was one the entire sporting world was dying to see pan out. So what happened when the two faced off against each other on Sunday, December 12, 2021? The race at Abu Dhabi. Not only was this the closest race ever in F1 history, but it had some pretty crazy strings attached in terms of possible outcomes. For Hamilton, the results were cut and dry. Finishing ahead of Verstappen and Hamilton wins, no muss, no fuss. However, in the case of Verstappen, he did not actually have to finish the race in order to win the championship. That's right, Verstappen could have crashed his car and still won, as long as Hamilton crashed as well. Verstappen had won 9 races during the 2021 circuit, but Hamilton had only won 8. That means that Verstappen had the advantage in wins, which means in a tiebreaker, Verstappen would win. This led people to believe that Verstappen would consider just taking Hamilton out along with himself at some point in the race just to guarantee the victory. Of course, that was not what happened, but the actual results were just as controversial as if Verstappen had actually just rammed into Hamilton on purpose at some point during the race. So let's take a look at what happened and what turned out to be the craziest finish to the season imaginable. The season came down to one moment. Hamilton did what was deemed impossible prior to the race at Abu Dhabi. He found himself 3 race wins back from Verstappen. Hamilton battled hard and secured a victory in 3 consecutive races to tie Verstappen at 369.5 points heading into the final race of the season. Fans could not believe that the most exciting season of F1 was going to come down to one moment, but sure enough it did, and that one moment did not underdeliver. Verstappen had pole position, but he did not keep the advantage for very long as Hamilton took the lead early on in the race. Hamilton kept the lead for the majority of the race despite Verstappen's best efforts to overtake him multiple times during the race. With only 7 laps remaining, the virtual safety car was sent onto the track to clear up a crash that was completely irrelevant to the remainder of the race, which is against usual race protocol. However, this opportunity allowed for Verstappen and the Red Bull team to change tires from old hard tires to new soft ones, thus giving Verstappen the mechanical edge over Hamilton despite the lead Hamilton had built up. Additionally, Hamilton was unable to pit, thus keeping him on his old and hard tires. Race director Michael Masi then decided it was necessary to unlap the 5 cars separating Verstappen and Hamilton while also restarting the race on the final lap. So to summarize, Hamilton had a 5-lap advantage with only 7 laps to go when the race director decided to pull a safety car stoppage against protocol, allowing Verstappen to pit and to restart the race at the same position as Hamilton on the final lap. Crazy, right? When the race restarted on the final lap, Hamilton did not stand a chance. Verstappen blew past Hamilton to take the lead, and he held him off for the entirety of the last lap to win the race and the season championship. Hamilton and Mercedes instantly protested the results, sending in 2 separate formal protests against the results of the race, but they were both dismissed by the race director. Verstappen won the championship, but it does not appear that this saga is quite over yet. Just when you thought this season of F1 could not get any crazier, something happens to prove you wrong. The aftermath of the race. Many lawyers are promising Mercedes that they would have a strong legal case if they chose to take legal action against F1 for their negligence in regards to properly calling the race and sticking to proper protocol. If regular protocol was followed during the race, there would never have been a safety car called out for the crash with only 7 laps remaining, which meant that Verstappen would not have changed his tires or had been placed in the same position as Hamilton, which most likely would have resulted in Hamilton's victory. It's clear why Mercedes is angry, and appears as though their dismissed protest will not be the final argument against the final results of the race in Abu Dhabi. Mercedes could decide to take more legal action, resulting in the results being overturned or the race director being forced to vacate his position. While the option to take legal action is open for Mercedes, it appears as though they are more focused on keeping the integrity of the sport intact rather than getting their way, which is incredibly commendable. Mercedes and Hamilton spent the majority of the year questioning F1's intentions on entertainment over competitive integrity, and with the results of the race on Sunday, December 12, 2021, It seems as though Mercedes and Hamilton may have been warning us about F1's hidden agenda the entire time. What this means for F1 going forward. F1 used to be about racing and who could beat who around a track. It was simple, exciting, and fun. But this year's season may have been the most intense season of all time, which on paper sounds awesome for the sport, which in terms of viewership, it was. But in terms of keeping the original spirit of the sport alive, along with upholding sportsmanship, it was not the best showing for F1. It seems as though F1 wanted to do all they could in order to keep fans glued to the screen as much as possible, while also adding as many new fans as they possibly could. The back-and-forth rivalry between up-and-coming legend Max Verstappen and the possible greatest F1 driver of all time, Lewis Hamilton, was too great to pass up on. However, it seems as though F1 was okay with sacrificing the rules in order to increase the entertainment value. Penalties were thrown around needlessly, crashes and unsportsmanlike driving were encouraged, and rules were straight up broken by race officials in order to make this season the most entertaining spectacle it could possibly be. While many fans appreciated it, we now must ask the question, where does it stop? When will F1 driving return to where it once was, or should we just expect this type of F1 for the remainder of existence? While this type of excitement was fun this season, I must insist that F1 enforce the rules to the fullest possible extent while encouraging sportsmanlike behavior both on and off the track in order to allow old fans and new fans to see F1 racing the way it is supposed to be, as a fair, exciting, and unique sporting spectacle that cannot be matched by any other sport around. Hopefully next year we will return to what F1's supposed to be, and maybe next year one single botched decision or crash will not be what decides the fate of the most important race in an athlete's life. And on that note, that's all we have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. What did you think of this season's F1 racing? Would you like to see more seasons like this or a return to regular F1 racing? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. It's free to you, it only takes a few seconds, and it goes a long way in helping out the channel. Thank you all again for watching, and we hope to see you all in the next video.